Strong hands pulled Jiho away from the fallen Teruk warrior. Two guards held him firmly as Commander Tozak stepped forward. "This warrior's fate is his own," Tozak said coldly. "If he is too weak to stand in ceremony, he is too weak to serve." Jiho struggled against the guards. "He's having a seizure. He needs medical help now, or he could die." "Then he dies with honor," said another Teruk officer. Captain Kang rushed over. "Dr. Han, you must respect their customs. Please return to the delegation." But Jiho saw something in the fallen warrior's movements that alarmed him. This wasn't a normal seizure. The gray skin was turning a deep blue around the neck. "Look at his coloration," Jiho said, pointing. "That's not a standard seizure response. Something else is happening." A ripple of uncertainty passed through the gathered Teruk. One of them stepped forward, smaller than the others, with fewer battle scars and a different insignia on their uniform. "Commander, the human may be right," said the Teruk. "The symptoms match Corvin syndrome. If it is, he has minutes before brain death." Tozak's four eyes blinked in sequence. "Medical Officer Narak, what treatment would you suggest?" "The standard treatment requires equipment from Medical Bay," Narak replied. "He won't survive transport." Jiho saw his chance. "I can stabilize him here. I need a sharp blade, something to open his airway, and a hollow tube." High Commander Lee Sung, who had been watching silently, suddenly spoke. "Let the human try. If the warrior dies anyway, it changes nothing. If he lives—" He paused. "That would be interesting." Tozak nodded reluctantly. The guards released Jiho, who immediately returned to the fallen warrior's side. Narak handed him a ceremonial dagger from her belt. "This warrior is Commander Vex," Narak explained. "He leads our most elite fighting unit." Jiho nodded, examining the alien's throat structure. "His airway is closing. I'm going to perform an emergency tracheotomy." The Teruk watched in silence as Jiho carefully felt along Commander Vex's throat, looking for the right spot. His medical training took over. The anatomy was different, but the principles were the same. Create an airway when the normal one is blocked. With steady hands, Jiho made a small incision. He worked quickly but carefully. A wrong move could kill the alien commander. Captain Kang stood nearby, looking worried. "I need something tube-shaped," Jiho said. Narak removed a hollow writing instrument from her uniform pocket. "Will this work?" Jiho nodded, taking the pen-like object. He inserted it into the incision, creating an emergency airway. Almost immediately, Commander Vex's coloration began to improve, and the seizure stopped. "He needs real medical attention now," Jiho said, sitting back on his heels. His hands were covered in dark alien blood, but he'll survive transport to your medical bay. The room was completely silent. Teruk warriors stared at him with expressions Jiho couldn't read. Was it anger? Surprise? Disgust? Finally, Commander Tozak spoke. "Take Commander Vex to medical bay." 4 warriors carefully lifted their fallen comrade, carrying him out of the hall. Jiho stood up, suddenly aware of how quiet everyone was. High Commander Lee Sung walked down from his raised platform. All 4 of his yellow eyes focused intensely on Jiho. "Human doctor," he said slowly, "you have saved a warrior who would have died. Some here would say you have robbed him of an honorable death." Jiho stood his ground. "Where I come from, there's no honor in a death that could be prevented." Indeed, the High Commander's translator couldn't convey tone, but his posture shifted slightly. "Commander Vex is one of our most decorated warriors. His experience is valuable to our fleet." Captain Kang stepped forward. "High Commander, Dr. Han acted out of medical necessity, not disrespect for your customs." "That much is clear," said Lee Sung. "Dr. Han, Medical Officer Narak will escort you to wash the blood from your hands. Then we will continue our meeting." As Jiho followed Narak from the hall, he noticed the other Teruk warriors watching him. Their expressions still weren't friendly, but something had changed. Narak spoke quietly as they walked. "That was impressive, human. But be careful. Saving a life is not always considered a kindness among my people. Dr. Han Jiho took a deep breath as the transport ship docked with a massive alien warship. His heart pounded in his chest. After 15 years as a trauma surgeon in Seoul, he thought nothing could scare him anymore. He was wrong. "Remember the briefing, Doctor," said Captain Kang Duri, standing beside him in a crisp military uniform. "The Terek respect strength above all else. They see medicine as a job for the weak." Jiho nodded, adjusting his medical insignia. "I understand, Captain." "No, I don't think you do," said Kang, his voice low and serious. "In their culture, if you're too injured to fight, you're meant to die with honor. Their medical technology is actually quite advanced, but they use it sparingly. They think our dedication to saving every life is strange." The airlock hissed open. 5 tall aliens waited for them. The Terek stood over 7 feet tall, with tough gray skin that looked like armor. Their 4 yellow eyes blinked at different times, and the bone ridges on their heads showed rank and family. The lead Terek stepped forward. His voice translator buzzed as he spoke. "I am Fleet Commander Tozek. You are the first humans to board a Terek warship. Consider this a great honor." Captain Kang bowed slightly. "We thank you for this opportunity, Commander. I present the Earth delegation." Jiho studied the aliens as Kang introduced each human delegate. The Terek carried themselves like soldiers, standing straight and proud. They all had scars they seemed to display proudly. Jiho had treated wounded soldiers on Earth who acted the same way about their battle scars. When Kang introduced him, Jiho stepped forward. "Dr. Han Jiho, medical specialist." All 4 of Commander Tozak's eyes narrowed. "A healer. You bring a healer to a first meeting between our species." Captain Kang tensed. "Dr. Han is one of Earth's finest." "We do not doubt his skill," interrupted another Terek. "We question why you would honor such a profession with this important task." Jiho felt his face grow hot, but he kept his expression calm. He had faced prejudice before. This was just a new kind. Commander Tozek made a dismissive gesture. "Come. The High Commander awaits." They walked through corridors filled with Terek warriors who stopped to stare at the humans. Jiho noticed there were no children, no elderly, and very few who showed any physical weakness. The main hall was enormous, with weapons displayed on every wall. Hundreds of Terek stood in formation as they entered. At the far end sat a Terek bigger than the rest, with elaborate bone ridges and more battle scars than Jiho could count. "High Commander Lee Sung," announced Tozek. Jiho blinked in surprise. The alien had a Korean name. Captain Kang noticed his confusion. High Commander Lee Sung took his name from ancient Earth history. He studies human warfare. It's considered a great honor. High Commander Lee Sung rose from his seat. "Humans of Earth, I welcome you to." A crash interrupted him. A Terek warrior near the front of the formation suddenly collapsed to the floor, body shaking violently. The other Terek stepped back. No one moved to help. "What's happening?" Joe asked Captain Kang. "Some kind of seizure," Kang whispered back. "But don't." Joe was already moving. Years of emergency room training took over. Someone needed help, and he was a doctor. Nothing else mattered. "Stop, human!" Commander Tozak shouted. Jiho ignored him, kneeling beside the fallen warrior. The Terek's yellow eyes rolled back, foam coming from his mouth. Jiho recognized the signs of status epilepticus, a prolonged seizure that could be fatal without treatment. "I need space," Jiho called out, checking the alien's airways. The last thing he saw before hands grabbed him was Commander Tozek's face, filled with both anger and surprise. "This," the commander said, "is not how first contact was supposed to go." The Terek medical bay was buzzing with activity. Jiho had been working for 18 straight hours, stopping only to drink water when Narek insisted. He had converted one corner into a makeshift laboratory using both his own equipment and Terek technology. "Your time is almost up, human," said Commander Vex, who had been watching Jiho work. The commander had barely left the medical bay since Jiho started. "I know," Jiho replied without looking up from his work. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but his hands remained steady as he mixed chemicals. "I'm close to a breakthrough." The bioweapon was clever in its design. It attacked the Terek nervous system by binding to specific proteins in their brain. Terek medical technology could not detect it because it disguised itself as normal cells. Narek approached with a datapad. "More warriors have fallen ill. 43 now. 4 more have died." Jiho nodded grimly. Time was running out. He had tried 5 different antidotes already. None had worked. This 6th attempt was his last hope before his time expired. The door to the medical bay slid open. High Commander Lee Sung entered, flanked by guards. His presence made every Terek in the room stand straighter. "Human doctor," he said, "your time is almost finished. What progress have you made?" Jiho held up a vial of blue liquid. "This is my 6th attempt at an antidote. I believe it will work, but I need to test it." "On whom?" Lee Sung asked. Before Jiho could answer, Commander Vex stepped forward. "On me." Everyone turned to look at the commander in surprise. "Commander Vex," Lee Sung said, "you have already suffered from this weapon once. You are still recovering." "Which makes me the perfect test subject," Vex replied. "If the human's medicine fails, we lose one already weakened warrior. If it works, we save many." Jiho looked at Vex with new respect. The commander had been hostile since their first meeting, but this was a brave offer. "Very well," Lee Sung said after a moment. "Proceed." Jiho prepared the injection while Narek monitored Vex's vital signs. The commander sat stiffly on one of the metal tables, showing no fear. "This may hurt," Jiho warned as he approached with the needle. Vex's 4 eyes blinked in what Jiho had learned was amusement. "Human, I have been stabbed by enemy blades 17 times in battle. Your tiny needle does not concern me." Jiho injected the blue liquid into Vex's arm. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Vex gasped and fell back on the table, his body shaking. "What's happening?" Lee Sung demanded. Jiho checked Vex's vital signs on Narek's monitor. "The antidote is fighting the bioweapon. His body is reacting to the conflict." For tense minutes, they all watched as Vex struggled. His skin turned from gray to blue to gray again. Finally, he stopped shaking and lay still. "Is he?" Narek asked. Jiho checked the vital signs again and smiled. "He's stabilizing. The blue coloration is fading. The antidote is working." Relief filled the room. Narek immediately began preparing doses for the other sick warriors. Even Lee Sung's rigid posture seemed to relax slightly. Vex opened his eyes and sat up slowly. "The pain is gone," he said, sounding surprised. "The antidote neutralized the bioweapon," Jiho explained. "You'll need rest, but you should make a full recovery." Lee Sung stepped forward. "Human doctor, you have fulfilled your promise. You have created a cure for this weapon used against us." Jiho nodded, suddenly feeling the exhaustion of his long work. "Anyone who's infected should receive the antidote immediately. I can show your medical staff how to produce more." Lee Sung was silent for a moment, studying Jiho carefully. "Among the Terek, we have a tradition called the Trial of Worth. It is offered only to those who have proven themselves worthy of Terek respect." He paused. "No non-Terek has ever been offered this honor, until now." Vex and Narek both looked shocked. Other Terek in the medical bay murmured among themselves. "What exactly is this trial?" Joe asked cautiously. "A series of challenges," Lee Sung replied. "Some physical, some mental, all designed to test a warrior's true worth. And if I pass, then you will be recognized as having the worth of a Terek warrior," Lee Sung said. "Something no human has ever achieved." Jiho thought for a moment. Captain Kang would probably tell him to refuse, to avoid diplomatic complications, but something inside Jiho wanted to prove himself to these aliens who looked down on doctors. I accept your trial, Jiho said firmly. Li Sung's 4 eyes blinked slowly. Then prepare yourself, human doctor. The trial of worth begins tomorrow. By the 3rd day, the cargo bay looked like a war zone. Nearly 200 sick Turuk warriors lay on makeshift beds. Medical officers moved between them, giving antidotes and checking vital signs. Jiho had barely slept, working constantly to produce enough medicine for everyone. High Commander Li Sung's condition had stabilized, but he remained unconscious. The power struggle between Officer Krell and Officer Drav was getting worse. We need more supplies, Jiho told Narak as they worked side by side. At this rate, we'll run out of the key ingredient for the antidote in 10 hours. Before Narak could answer, a loud explosion shook the ship. Everyone in the cargo bay froze. What was that? Jiho asked. Commander Vex rushed in, his armor damaged and smoking. Fighting has broken out between Krell's and Drav's factions. They're using weapons in the main corridor. Jiho couldn't believe it. They're fighting while their fellow warriors are dying from a bioweapon. Power struggles are part of Turuk culture, Narak explained quickly. But this is the worst possible time. Another explosion rocked the ship, closer this time. The lights flickered. They're getting nearer to the cargo bay, Vex said. We should move the patients. There's no time, Jiho replied. And nowhere to move them anyway. We need to protect this area. Vex nodded. I'll post guards at the entrances. But it was too late. The main door to the cargo bay burst open. Warriors from both factions poured in, weapons drawn. They were shooting at each other, not caring about the sick patients caught in the middle. Stop, Jiho shouted, but no one listened. A young Turuk medical officer fell, hit by a stray shot. Patients unable to move were in danger of being trampled or shot. Jiho saw a child patient, Narak's daughter Lani, directly in the path of the fighting. Without thinking, he ran into the middle of the battle. Laser fire and plasma bolts flew around him as he sprinted across the cargo bay. Reaching Lani, Jiho covered her body with his own. A shot grazed his arm, burning through his sleeve and searing his skin. He ignored the pain and pulled Lani behind a storage container. Stay here, he told her. Don't move until I come back. Then Jiho did something no one expected. Instead of hiding, he ran back into the battle, grabbing a fallen medical officer and dragging her to safety. Then he went back for another injured Turuk, and another. The fighting warriors began to notice the small human running through the battlefield, unarmed, rescuing injured Turuk from both factions equally. Some stopped shooting, watching in shock. Jiho's white medical coat was now stained with his own blood and the dark blood of injured Turuk. His face was streaked with sweat and dirt, but he kept going, treating whoever needed help, regardless of which faction they belonged to. When he saw a warrior with a severe chest wound, Jiho knelt in the open, exposed to fire from both sides. Using basic tools in his own hands, he performed emergency surgery right there on the cargo bay floor. Cover the human, someone shouted. It was Commander Vex. Both his arms were injured, but he stood protectively near Jiho. Gradually, the fighting stopped. Warriors from both factions lowered their weapons, watching as the human doctor worked tirelessly to save their fellow Turuk. Officer Krell, leader of one faction, stepped forward. What are you doing, human? Those are not your people. Jiho didn't look up from his patient. In medicine, there are no sides. Only those who need help and those who can give it. Officer Drav approached from the other side. You risk your life for warriors who would have killed you yesterday. That's what doctors do, Jiho said simply, finishing a bandage and moving to the next injured Turuk. The two faction leaders looked at each other. For the first time, they seemed unsure. Perhaps, Krell said slowly, our battle can wait until the real enemy, this bioweapon, is defeated. Drav nodded reluctantly. Agreed. A temporary truce. As the warriors began helping move the injured, Narak approached Jiho. That was either the bravest or the most foolish thing I've ever seen, she said. Jiho smiled tiredly, his hand still working to stop a warrior's bleeding. Sometimes there's not much difference between the two. The temporary truce between the Terek factions held as they faced their common enemy, the spreading bioweapon. But despite their efforts, more warriors fell ill each day. The medical team could barely keep up. "We need more help," Jiho told Narak as they checked on patients together. His arm was bandaged where the laser shot had grazed him. "Your medical officers are working nonstop, but it's not enough." Narak nodded tiredly. "But who?" "Most of our trained medical staff are already here." Jiho looked around the cargo bay. Many warriors who had recovered from the illness were sitting idly, watching the medical team work. An idea formed in his mind. "What about them?" he asked, pointing to the recovered warriors. "I could teach them basic medical procedures." Narak's 4 eyes widened. "Warriors acting as medical staff. That's never been done." "Why not?" "They're strong. They follow orders well, and they've experienced the illness themselves." Narak seemed doubtful. "They're warriors, not healers. They're trained to end lives, not save them." "Then it's time they learned a different kind of battle," Jiho said firmly. To everyone's surprise, Commander Vex supported the idea. "The human is right," he announced to the recovered warriors. "We face an enemy that cannot be defeated with plasma rifles or battle axes. This enemy requires a different strategy." One by one, warriors volunteered. Among the first was Officer Krell, whose faction had been fighting just days before. "My weapon arm is injured," Krell said, showing his bandaged limb. "But my other arm can still work. Teach me, human doctor." Jiho began training them immediately. He showed them how to check vital signs, administer the antidote, and monitor patients for changes. The warriors learned quickly, applying the same focused discipline they used in combat. "You're creating a medical corps," Captain Kang said, watching the training with amazement. "The first in Terek history." But even with the new help, they'd faced a serious problem. The bioweapon was changing, becoming resistant to the antidote. High Commander Lee Sung's condition was worsening again, along with many others. "I need to create a stronger antidote," Jiho told his new medical team. "But I need to understand exactly how the weapon is changing." Narak suggested a solution. "Our old medical texts mention a procedure. A healthy person can be injected with blood from a sick person. Their body will create natural defenses that can be studied." "That's dangerous," Jiho warned. "Whoever volunteers would be deliberately exposing themselves to the weapon." The room fell silent. Then Jiho made a decision that shocked everyone. "I'll do it," he said firmly. "Use my blood." "No," several voices shouted at once. Even Officer Drav objected. "Human doctor, you are too valuable," Drav said. "If you fall ill, who will lead our medical efforts?" Jiho shook his head. "Human physiology is different from Terek. The weapon might affect me, but not as severely. And by studying how my body fights it, we might find a better cure." The Terek warriors looked at each other, clearly uncomfortable with the idea. "There must be another way," Commander Vex said. "There isn't enough time," Jiho insisted. "High Commander Lee Sung won't survive another day without a stronger antidote." Finally, they agreed. Narak carefully injected Jiho with a small amount of blood from one of the sickest patients. Then they waited. Within hours, Jiho began showing symptoms. His skin didn't turn blue like the Terek, but he developed a high fever and tremors. Despite his condition, he continued working, studying his own blood samples under a microscope. "There," he said weakly, pointing to the screen. "My white blood cells are attacking the weapon differently than Terek cells. That's the key." Working through his fever, Jiho directed Narak and the others in creating a new antidote based on his body's response to the weapon. By the time he collapsed from exhaustion, the new medicine was ready. "Give it to Lee Sung first," Jiho whispered before losing consciousness. "Then to the children. As darkness closed in around him, the last thing Jiho saw was something he never expected. A circle of Teruk warriors standing protectively around his bed, their weapons drawn, not to threaten him, but to guard him while he slept. 3 days passed since the incident in the Great Hall. Dr. Han Jiho sat alone in the small room given to him on the Teruk warship. He had not been allowed to leave it except for brief meetings with the human delegation. "This is ridiculous," he said to himself, pacing the room. "I'm a doctor. I should be helping people, not sitting here doing nothing." The door slid open. Captain Kang entered, looking worried. "Captain, any news?" Joe asked. Kang nodded. "Bad news, I'm afraid. More Teruk warriors are falling ill. Similar symptoms to Commander Vex. Their medical staff can't figure out what's happening." "How many sick?" 27 so far. 2 have died." Kang lowered his voice. "The Teruk High Command is angry. Some generals think humans might be responsible. They're talking about kicking all humans out of coalition space." Jiho sat down hard on his bed. "That's crazy. We had nothing to do with this." "I know that, but the Teruk need someone to blame." Kang sighed. "Commander Vex is recovering, by the way. He has said nothing about you saving his life. I think he's embarrassed." A soft knock at the door interrupted them. When Kang opened it, Medical Officer Narak stood outside. She looked around nervously before entering. "I should not be here," she said. "I could lose my position for talking to you." "Why risk it then?" Joe asked. Narak's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "More warriors are sick. Our medical technology cannot help them. Whatever this illness is, it's spreading fast." Joe looked at Kang, who nodded. "Tell me about the symptoms," Joe said. Narak described them quickly. Seizures, blue skin discoloration, difficulty breathing. But there was something new, a strange rash that appeared before the seizures started. "Wait," Joe said. "A rash? Commander Vex didn't have a rash." "He did," Narak said. "Under his armor. We found it during examination." Jiho stood up, excitement building. "This could be important. I need to see the patients." "Impossible," Kang said. "The Teruk won't allow it." Narak looked down. "There is another reason I came. She hesitated. "My child is among the sick." Jiho was surprised. "I didn't know there were children on board." Few humans know that Teruk young train on warships from an early age. "My daughter is only 10 cycles, but she serves in communications." Narak's voice shook. "She began showing symptoms this morning." Jiho and Kang exchanged looks. This changed everything. "I'll help," Jiho said firmly. "But I need to see the patients, run tests. I can't diagnose from descriptions alone. The High Command will never approve," Kang warned. Narak straightened her posture. "Then we don't ask them. I can bring you to medical base secretly. Night cycle begins in 2 hours. Most warriors will be in rest pods." "That's extremely risky," Kang said. "If you're caught, if we do nothing, more will die," Jiho interrupted, "including Narak's daughter." He turned to Narak. "I'll go with you." "This is a diplomatic incident waiting to happen," Kang muttered. "But I'll cover for you if anyone asks where you are." As Narak left to prepare, Jiho gathered what few medical supplies he had brought from Earth. It wasn't much. A basic diagnostic kit, some medications for the human delegates, but it might help. "You realize what you're risking?" Kang asked. "If they catch you interfering with their medical protocols, they might execute you on the spot." Jiho nodded. "I took an oath to help those in need. That doesn't stop at human patients." Kang stared at him for a long moment. "You know, for someone they call weak, you've got more courage than most warriors I've met." Jiho checked his medical kit one last time. "It's not courage, Captain. It's just being a doctor." 2 hours later, Narak returned. "It's time," she said from the doorway. "Are you ready?" Jiho took a deep breath. "Ready." As they stepped into the dimly lit corridor, Jiho knew there was no turning back. He was about to challenge the Terek's most sacred beliefs, that weakness deserved death, and that a doctor's help was shameful. But with lives at stake, especially a child's life, he had no choice. Jiho followed Narak through the dark corridors of the Terek warship. They moved quickly and quietly, stopping at corners to check for guards. "The medical bay is one level down," Narak whispered. "Most medical staff are off-duty during night cycle." They took a narrow service passage instead of the main elevator. The passage was hot and cramped, clearly not designed for comfort. "Do all Terek children serve on warships?" Joe asked as they climbed down a ladder. Narak's voice was soft. "Only those born to warriors. My daughter Lani is the first in our family line to serve in a non-combat role. Some warriors mock her for it, because she works in communications instead of fighting. Yes, just as they mock me for being a medical officer." Narak paused at the bottom of the ladder. "The medical bay is through here. Be prepared. It's not like your human hospitals." She was right. The Terek medical bay looked more like a repair shop than a place of healing. Hard metal tables instead of beds. Tools that resembled weapons more than medical instruments. And most shocking to Joe, no privacy between patients. Sick and injured Terek lay in full view of each other. 15 warriors occupied the tables. Some were awake, others unconscious. All showed the blue skin discoloration Jiho had seen on Commander Vex. "Where are your scanning devices?" Joe asked, keeping his voice low. Narak pointed to a large machine. "That's our main diagnostic tool, but it shows nothing unusual in the patients." Jiho moved carefully between the tables, examining patients. Each showed the same symptoms: the blue discoloration, the rash, elevated body temperature. In the corner lay a small figure, Narak's daughter Lani. She looked just like a miniature version of the adult Terek, but her breathing was shallow. "May I?" Joe asked, gesturing to his diagnostic kit. Narak nodded. Jiho took out a small device and ran it over Lani's arm where the rash was worst. The device beeped as it analyzed the skin sample. "This rash isn't a symptom," Jiho said suddenly. "It's the cause." "What do you mean?" "Look." Joe showed Narak the device's screen. "These aren't normal cells. They're artificial, engineered." Narak's 4 eyes widened. "A biological weapon." "Yes, someone designed this to target Terek physiology." Jiho checked another patient, confirming his theory. "Your scanners didn't detect it because they're looking for natural diseases, not artificial ones." A noise at the door made them both freeze. 3 Terek guards entered, weapons drawn. "Medical Officer Narak," one guard said. "You bring a human into medical bay against direct orders." Narak stepped forward. "This human doctor has identified what's making our warriors sick. It's a bioweapon." The guard's eyes narrowed. "More likely the humans deployed it themselves. Both of you will come with us to see High Commander Lee Sung." Now, they had no choice. The guards marched them through the ship to the command center. Inside, High Commander Lee Sung was meeting with his top officers, including a now-recovered Commander Vex. "What is this?" Lee Sung demanded when they entered. The guard explained what they had found. Lee Sung's 4 eyes fixed on Jiho. "Human doctor, you violated our protocols by entering our medical bay. Why?" Jiho stood straight, meeting the alien's gaze. "Because your warriors are dying from a bioweapon, not a natural disease. Your medical technology isn't designed to detect it. A bioweapon." Commander Vex stepped forward. "Who would dare attack Terek warriors this way?" "I don't know," Jiho said honestly, "but I know how to treat it. On Earth, we've dealt with similar weapons. I can create an antidote, but I need your permission to work in your medical bay." Lee Sung was silent for a long moment. The other Terek officers watched, waiting for his decision. "If this is truly a weapon," Lee Sung finally said, "then this is not a matter of medicine. It is an act of war. And in war, We use every weapon available to us. He looked at Jiho. Even if that weapon is a human doctor. Commander Vex objected. High Commander, our warriors would rather die with honor than live to fight another day. Li Sung interrupted. I disagree. He turned back to Jiho. Human doctor, you have one rotation to prove your theory and develop a treatment. If you fail, you will be confined to your quarters until the human delegation leaves. If you succeed, he paused. We will see what happens then. Jiho slept deeply after his long hours in the medical bay. When he woke, Captain Kang was standing by his bed, looking worried. What happened? Jiho asked, sitting up quickly. Is something wrong? Everything is wrong, Kang said. While you were sleeping, the bioweapon spread to 3 more sections of the ship. Over 100 warriors are sick now. Jiho jumped out of bed. But the antidote. Your antidote works, but they can't make it fast enough. Kang lowered his voice. And there's worse news. High Commander Li Sung has fallen ill. Jiho felt a chill. The High Commander? How bad is it? Bad. He collapsed during a meeting with his officers. The ship is in chaos. Some officers are saying humans released the weapon. A loud alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridor outside. What's that? Joe asked. Battle stations, Kang said grimly. Something's happening. The door slid open, and Narek rushed in. Dr. Han, you must come quickly. The High Commander's condition is worsening. What about the trial of Worth? Joe asked as he gathered his medical kit. Forgotten for now, Narek said. The command structure is breaking down. 2 faction leaders are arguing over who should lead while Li Sung is ill. They hurried through corridors filled with armed Terek rushing to their posts. The tension in the air was thick. When they reached the High Commander's private medical chamber, Jiho was shocked at what he saw. Li Sung lay on a medical table, his gray skin turned almost completely blue. His breathing was shallow, and his 4 eyes were closed. I gave him the antidote, said a Terek medical officer. It's not working fast enough. Jiho examined the High Commander quickly. The infection is more advanced in him. He needs a stronger dose. We've already given him the maximum safe amount, Narek said. Jiho thought quickly. We need to make a more concentrated version. A loud argument outside the chamber interrupted them. Through the doorway, Jiho could see 2 high-ranking Terek officers shouting at each other, surrounded by warriors with weapons drawn. What's happening? He asked. Command dispute, Narek explained quietly. Officer Krell and Officer Drav both claim right of command. If they fight, half the ship will follow one, half the other. Jiho understood the danger. Civil war on the ship while the High Commander was incapacitated could be disastrous. We need to stabilize Li Sung immediately, he said, and we need more space to treat all the sick warriors. Narek looked doubtful. Where? The medical bay is already full. Jiho remembered something from his tour of the ship. The cargo bay on level 4. It's large enough, and it was nearly empty when I saw it. Convert a cargo bay into a medical facility. Narek seemed shocked by the idea. Yes, we'll move all the patients there. We'll need to make more of the antidote quickly. Commander Vex entered the chamber, pushing past the arguing officers outside. The human is right, he said, surprising everyone. I will order the cargo bay cleared. You don't have authority, one of the officers from outside said, following Vex in. I am in command now. No, I am, shouted the other officer, pushing forward. Vex drew himself up to his full height. Neither of you commands while I stand here. I was the first to suffer from this weapon, and the first to be cured by the human doctor. His medicine works. His plan will work too. The officers fell silent, looking uncertain. The longer you argue, Jiho said, stepping forward, the more warriors die, including your High Commander. The officers exchanged looks. Finally, one nodded. Clear the cargo bay, he ordered. Within an hour, the cargo bay had been transformed. Medical equipment was moved in, and sick warriors were carefully transported from all over the ship. Jiho worked alongside Narak and other medical officers, showing them how to make stronger versions of the antidote. As he worked, Jiho noticed something strange. Despite their hostility toward medicine, the Turuk warriors were following his instructions without complaint. Some were even volunteering to help move equipment or assist the medical staff. "They're starting to respect you," Narak said quietly, noticing his surprise. "You fight this weapon as fiercely as they would fight any enemy." Jiho smiled tiredly. "I told you before, this is what doctors do."